Surion, and I am back today bringing you another tutorial video. Today's tutorial video is a full health build guide, and predominantly you could use any weapon you want, but this one is based around melee. I just find that melee weapons are kind of simple. You don't need ammo. It's easy. So you can move some of the stuff around, like any of the strength cards set up in this build. You can move them into perception if you prefer commando. Well, anyway, with that being said, this is a late game build video, so I recommend that you're probably level 50 to level 75 to get some of these cards. Now, not every card is essential, but every card will definitely help your build. If you're a higher level, if you're level 500, you will have more than enough levels to make this build happen. So, anyway, let's dive into it. So, starting off, let's take a look at our specials. So, you'll see here that I use 10, 4, 10, 3, 12, 9, and 8, and I do the same thing for this one. And the reason why is because I like to run two different melee weapons, and I'll get into that in a second. So anyway, I recommend that we look at my special legendary cards, just so that way we could see what we have. So that way I have 3 in strength, 3 in endurance, 3 in luck, 3 in intelligence, and 2 in charisma, and that will help me out with my build today. So starting off, you're definitely going to want as many cards to help your carry weight as possible. It's just the best thing that you could have in the wasteland, with or without Fallout First. Traveling Pharmacy will reduce any chems, stim weights, right away, that kind of thing, by 90%. Green Thumb obviously is useful, not extremely useful, but just useful. You're going to want through hiker, because this is also going to reduce food and that kind of thing when you're carrying it, and then you're going to want good with salt to pair that with. Now here's the cards that I was talking about that you don't necessarily need. Master Slugger, Martial Arts, and Incisor. If you wanted to move these into Perception right here, you definitely could. You're definitely going to want Blocker though. Anytime you're going to get hit with a melee, it's useful just to negate about 45% of that damage anyway. Endurance is useful for the full health part of the build. You're going to get 45% additional to your health, so that's 4 in Life Giver. Nocturnal is going to give you an additional 40, so you're going to be plus 80% health at night. I mean, that's 50% of the game, so you can't beat that. During the day, you're going to get automatic health regen, so equally, this is just as useful. Somebody shooting at you, your health is going to be constantly regenning without you having to use any stim packs at all. Granted, this one is subjective. You don't necessarily need it, because if you are carrying Traveling Pharmacy and you're not bloodied, you're not going to be going through stim packs as frequently as some other people would. So feel free to kind of change some of these cards around to what you see fit. Fireproof, you're definitely going to want for that fire negation. Now, I will say that this build's biggest weakness is probably to poison or fire. Now, with the latest Atlantic City, they did patch some of the fire problem, so it's really not an issue for this build anymore. I don't even really feel the need to use power armor anymore like I used to, and I'll get into that in a minute too. Sun-Kissed as well, you're definitely going to want for your full health part of the aspect. Field Surgeon, Tenderizer, you're going to want this regardless of if you have a weapon or a melee. It's just useful because you're going to get stacked bleed damage, and you can't ever argue with that. Now, I'm going to skip intelligence for now, besides first aid, because you're definitely going to want first aid. Just goes along with the full health part of the aspect of the build. Now, I am melee, so Action Boy makes most sense to me to have. I think it's useful regardless. You just get more sprints, you get more AP regen. Through Hiker, we've been through this. Born Survivor, you're definitely going to want, just in case you get in any sticky situations. Starch Genes, if you're mutated, I think that this build benefits from being mutated. If you don't know what mutations are, I could definitely make a video leading into that. Now, there are tons of people that have made really good and really detailed videos on what mutations are already. So if you don't know what that is, please feel free to look that up. But Starch Genes is a must. Class Freak on top of this, boosting any negations by 75%. And then you're going to want Bloody Mess for an additional damage bonus. Okay, so now getting back to this intelligence. Why is it different here than it would be for this Buzzsaw blade? Well, and that is because I run the auto axe and the chainsaw. And now not everybody has the auto axe. I understand that this was a seasonal thing, and that the only way to get it now is to run expeditions and get 500 stamps, which is quite a lot. And then you're going to want an additional 40 for the electric mod. But what this does is it's going to give you an additional 30 to 40 damage buff over the chainsaw, just completely as it is. There are no flaming buff cards So when you could use strength plus the electric, and I'll get into that in just a second, you'll end up doing a lot more damage. So portable power, stable tools, power user. So this one is definitely more around my chainsaw and power armor. So anytime I'm in general just wanting to play the game, I'm going to be using my power armor here. I'm going to get into it. I'm going to be able to use my chainsaw just as effectively, and all of these intelligence cards here are going to benefit me. So all of my power armor is now reduced by 75%. I mean, so that reduces the weight drastically. Stable tools for your chainsaw, you're just going to want that regardless. It just keeps that chainsaw alive a little longer in the fight. Power user, your fusion core duration is now doubled. I recommend this because I only like to use 1 or 2 fusion cores. It's not necessary to use more. Power patcher is definitely useful as well. It just makes it so that way it breaks a lot slower. So now getting into that one, I go back over here to this one, and it is a non-power armor full health build. Same exact build, but without power armor focused. So I still use this one portable power card just to make sure that the chassis weight is reduced by 75%. Stable tools, and then now my science cards. Science is going to give you an additional 10% bonus for each card, so that's a 30% damage bonus over the other build. Definitely worth it. Ricochet, of course, always worth it. You know, you just cannot beat some of these cards. Now, I don't know why I don't have Ricochet on this one. It should be, but I might have replaced it with Good with Salt. Either card is really good. Ricochet's not going to help you out in any kind of PvP situation. So anyway, now that we've kind of covered that and we've seen the cards, let's go test this build out in person. If I could just find where West Tech is, it might even be better just for me to do a expedition, but it might not be worth it because the second I find this, there we go, West Tech. All right. Going into the armor choices, really any armor that you want to use that's not power armor is beneficial to you. I use the Secret Service, which does require you to beat the game. Again, one of those things that is best if you Googled. I could make a video on how to get the Secret Service, but it does require you to beat the game and basically use a collection currency to unlock it. I do use Overeaters for this one, but I use Nocturnal on my power armor. I think both are extremely effective. But for example, in this case, I could just drink some coffee, eat a little bit of food. It's better for my melee build. And then I could stand here and let these mutants just have fun with me. Now you can see that the mutants are doing some damage to me. But the best kind of weapon that I like, especially with the melee, is vampires. So the second that I kill one, I'm automatically getting killed. I don't even have to use those stim packs at all. And I'll go over exactly what cards I'm using here, or what perks are on the legendaries, aside from vampires, but mostly vampires is the most important because it's going to get you that health back the second that you start hurting them. And so let's say that they just continue to hurt me a little more. I put my weapon away. My armor and my health are going to save me. So for a while, I could be in a very dangerous situation and not have to worry about it at all. Here, Blocker's going to protect me against hits from this dog. And you can see it's very effective. Only a little bit of health loss. So even if you were doing something like a mutated event, and you're taking a significant more portion of damage, you know that you're going to be okay. And so let's say that this wasn't enough, though, and I wanted to pull out my power armor just to get that extra sense of security. You could always use Strangler Heart. T65 is the strongest in the game. T45, T51, all of these power armors are extremely good. Excavator. There's really not a power armor in the game that doesn't have a function to it. So if you really like power armor and that's your thing, definitely use it. It'll be beneficial to you and the game in the long run. And so as you can see here, even with his energy gun with refractor on, he's practically doing nothing to me. So if I was ever in a daily ops that was reflective or anything like that, you could see that my power armor would save me. And this is a Nocturnal set as well, so it's completely stock T65 right now, and you can see that just with these cards on alone, I am getting 7 6 and 500 out of that, and it is doubled at night. And you can see that I'm still getting a tremendous amount of damage protection. If it was nighttime, it wouldn't even be moving at all. If this was Overeaters, it wouldn't even be moving at all. So I just want that something to be kept in mind. This is a really good build. Again, you could switch those cards out from Strength, put them into Perception, have yourself a Commando build. You could put those cards into electric. You could run an energy gun. You could use those other perk cards for other cards. It's really an adaptable kind of off the meta build, but I do recommend that somebody tries this because it's not something that I normally see. A lot of people kind of go for that Commando Bloodied or Bloodied in general, and I know that you can get really good numbers off a Bloodied build almost to the same point, but I find myself almost never dying. Even in a PvP fight, it's just not something that's happening very often, especially with the right buffs and debuffs. You're pretty strong. So I recommend, if you found this video useful, it is a second iteration of the first video and some time with me playing with it. Here again, let me go over some more of the cards. Refractor on 4. This is my Auto Axe version. Tenderizer, Field Surgeon, Through Hiker, Bloodied Mess, and then I will just do one more iteration. So we'll keep going over these builds if you like them. This one was a little bit shorter than the last, so please let me know if you guys have any questions or what your thoughts are down below.